Now that we've created a hydrant and created a test for that hydrant and included that test into a group of tests, we're now going to create a work order. To create a work order, I go up to click on work order. I'm going to select fire flow work order, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new work order. Again, I'm going to call this and I'm going to go ahead and make this a reoccurring work order. Simply click on down arrow and select yes, or start typing yes. It'll pop up in the window. I know that I'm going to come back every year and retest this fire hydrant, and I'm not going to have an ending date on this. So now I've created a work order for doing a fire flow test. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Save Data, and you'll see these two buttons now light up. Now, we did create a group of hydrants, so I'm going to go ahead and import that group to show you how that works. It's kind of a nice feature. I'd simply go over here, click on the down arrow, select the group that I created, click on that, add group, yes, and you'll see that all of the tests in that group popped up in the window. Now let's say that we're out, you're sending the crew out to do these 3 fire hydrants, and you know that there's one you want to do over in the mall parking lot, and I want the guys to do it while they're out on this job. You can go down and I can add a single hydrant to this group for when I go out to do the test. Now that particular fire hydrant that I just added will not become a permanent part of that group. It's just there as part of this work order. However, because we made this work order a reoccurring work order, it will be included with this work order. So it's not part of the group, but because we added it to the work order, it is now part of the group of exercises or tests that we imported. Now that we've put in all the fire hydrants that we want to go out and test, we're going to go ahead and save this again. It's been saved. The first thing I want to do after I've created a work order is to print a walking work order report for the guys in the field. So I'm going to click on print. I'm going to go down and click on summary field report and click on continue. And what you'll see is a walking order report that shows the guys. I'm going to test AB-102 first. When I'm done, I'm going to check it off so I know I got it done. And I'm just going to follow this list all the way through, testing all my hydrants. If there's 50, you're going to get several pages with all 50 hydrants on there. This is kind of handy for the guys in the field because it tells them exactly the order in which you want to do your test, and they can check them off. Let's say, for example, they wanted to do this one and couldn't because there was a car parked in front of it. They would skip it, go to this one. By quickly looking at this report, they can see this wasn't checked. They need to go back and retest that fire hydrant. So it's kind of a handy field report for the guys. I'm going to go back to print. I want to show you one other report. This is called a full field report. This report is really set up for cities that aren't using the Hurco FireFlow Pro equipment. You're using your standard pitot tubes, and you're going to have to bring this information back into the office so that you can attach it to the work order. So this field report would be pulled up for an individual hydrant, in this case AB-102 that we created. Any of these empty fields, if they want, they can write in some information, under deficiencies, for example, missing cap, nozzle, obviously latitude and longitude, they would have to have some sort of a GPS device with them to record that. Once they've done their test, they'll record static pressure and residual pressure. Down here they'll identify which flow hydrant. We created a work order. We already told them that we want them to flow Hurco H1, but if they were out there and something happened and they had to add another hydrant to the flow, they could add that here. Generally, you would have predetermined this. It's just there as a reference for the guys. They know we're flowing hydrant Hurco H1. We used a 2-inch pedalless nozzle. We're going to go ahead and start flowing. We're going to record our pedal pressure. We've got a stopwatch running. We're going to put in the time so we can keep track of our gallons used. Prior to the test, before we started flowing water, we would have actually recorded static pressure or main pressure, and then during the test we would have recorded residual PSI. By the way, if you're doing fire flow tests correctly, residual pressure and pedal pressure need to be recorded simultaneously, so you're going to have some method of signaling the person at the other hydrant to read a gauge at the same time you're reading a gauge at the flow hydrant. All right. Now, back to the work order. Once you've gone out and done your fire flow test and recorded your data either using the Hurco FireFlow Pro system or manually writing it on your report form for that particular fire hydrant, you need to bring that data back to the office. Now, if you're using the Hurco FireFlow Pro system, that system automatically syncs with the IMS software. The data will be transferred automatically, and the results of that test will be included in IMS software. To confirm that, you would simply go up to Edit Results. Had we imported data, all of the data would be in this field for all of the hydrants. You could just click through and you would see all the data here. Since this is a demonstration, I don't have data that I've imported from the FireFlow Pro system, but I do want to show you how to enter data when it's brought in out of the field manually. So again, we would go to Edit Results. We would go in here and type in information. I'm going to put in my name. I know when I was in the field on my report that I flowed the water for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Test notes, whatever notes you might want to attach, and then your important information. Pedal pressure was 21. Static pressure at the time of test was 86. Our residual pressure was 72. I'd like to know how many gallons of water I used during this test for my water audits. So I'm going to go down in here and I'm going to click on this calculator. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to enter my pedal pressure, which was 21. And then my time, which was 3 minutes and 20 seconds. I hit calculate and it filled in those values. So now I can see the gallons per minute and the gallons used. You'll see with our system we carry out a long ways past the decimal point. If you're using a Hurco FireFlow Pro system, our sensors measure in hundreds of thousands of pounds of pressure. We leave this here to illustrate the accuracy of our FireFlow Pro system. And then down here, if the guys noted any deficiencies, you can go down and select that deficiency. If the deficiency isn't there, again, click on the green plus, go in and add it, and then go back and you can select it. So I'm going to go in, rates hard. Needs paint, and okay, so we had a lot of deficiencies with this particular fire hydrant. Once I've made those changes to this particular hydrant, I go ahead and save it. And then I move on to the next hydrant, and the way I do that is to click on the little arrow, and now I'm on hydrant 2, and I can go in and enter that data as well. Again, if we had imported or synced with our FireFlow Pro system, all of this information would be filled in right now. So I'm not going to go ahead and do the other 4, but I'm going to come back. Now once I've gone in and confirmed that all the data is accurate, I need to submit those results. It gives me a warning that if I click on this, I'll no longer be able to make changes. So to be sure that there's no more edits that need to be made, I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And what it did is it just created, it saved all the test data and created reports for each and every one of those hydrants. If I go down and click on this FireFlow work order that just dropped down onto my taskbar, I'll see copies of all my reports. This is for hydrant AB1. You'll see up here we had an NFPA classification, blue AA, our gallons. Predicted flow at 20 psi was 1,744. We only had a 16% drop in pressure, so we get this warning that says the test did not meet the recommended drop of 25 psi per NFPA 291. If you're using Hurco's FireFlow Pro, because our sensors and data collection are all digital, this number probably isn't as important. Of course, the closer you can get to that, the more accurate your data is going to be, but we collect data so accurately with our FireFlow Pro system that you can be assured that these results are very accurate and probably good enough for your FireFlow test. Again, that's a decision your city will need to make, and the reason we put this warning up here. Going over this report, again, we have your city name and address, your customer's name and address, the work order ID, the person who went out and did the test. This is information on the test. We got the hydrant, the address of the hydrant, cross street. It was behind the bush. This is a multi-family district. Subdivision is Sunset Hills. If I had captured GPS in the field, that data would show up here, as well as your UTM. We had one pumper, 4-inch on this. We had 2 nozzles, 2.5-inch, and our open direction was left. It's a Mueller hydrant. This was the model, date installed. The main size is 8-inch, vandal proof. Yes, we have valve locks on them, and we have a buried depth of 6.5 feet. This will be a list of all of our flow hydrants. In this particular test, we only had one, Hurco H1. We used a 2-inch pedalless nozzle. The diameter of that nozzle is 2.5-inch, or I'm sorry, 2-inch. Gallons per minute was 755.21. Gallons used was 2,517 and 36 gallons, 0.36 gallons. These are the statistics. We had 21 psi pedal pressure. We had 86 static, 72 residual. We had a 16.28 drop. Gallons used, 2,517 gallons. Gallons per minute during the test was 755. Lapse time of the test was 3 minutes and 20 seconds. And again, this is our predicted flow, 1,744. On this particular hydrant record, if we had had a photo uploaded, that photo would be revealed in this section of your report. This area of the report, by the way, is to upload an image. We initially intended it to be for a picture of the fire hydrant. However, we have some customers who will import a small map of the location of that hydrant, which is a pretty good idea if you want to do that. So again, remember that it's for uploading images. You can put whatever image in there you want. And then finally, our chart. This chart shows us our predicted flows at any PSIs. Here's our PSIs. If you come over to 20, you'll see there's our number, 1,745. The chart rounds. Up here we got 1,744.66. Down here we show 1,745. And then this area down here is the danger zone. Up in here you can see the different flows, predicted flows at different PSIs. And then again, if I wanted to look at the reports for the other hydrants, I'd simply click on this arrow and it would go to the next report. And again, in this report you can see we have a picture of the hydrant. Some of the other reports that you can create after doing a fire flow are work order results in a summary format, and this would be where you can take all of the hydrants in the test and view them with some basic information line by line rather than creating an individual report for each individual fire hydrant. You can sort your list a number of ways. If you only want to look at the hydrants you tested in a certain date range, you would just click on this and put in the date range. If you wanted to look at them by a particular fire hydrant, you can do that. NFPA rating, if you just wanted to look at all the ones that were blue or orange or whatever, or in a particular subdivision, you can filter your list by doing that. Once you've filtered your list, you would click on View Full Summary of Selections, and the report will pop up in a summary format where you see all the hydrants in a row with all the pertinent information attached. The other report that you can create is a water usage report. This is very useful if you're doing water audits. If I go back over to fire flow usage, again, I can look at all the water I use between a particular date range, on a particular work order, by the hydrant. I'm going to go ahead and just look at all of them right now. And so what this does is it gives me a quick view of all the hydrants that I tested, the gallons used on each and every test. And then if I click to the last page, I'll see a summary of all the gallons used on that particular work order.